just a restaurant somewhere.
You're live.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening. It's Monday, April the 22nd. This is a meeting of the Policy Committee.
Mike Thorwart
is now in the conference.
This is a meeting of the Council Rock School District Board of School Directors Policy Committee. I'm chairing the meeting, Ed Tate, a member of the board, and with us in person are two board members.
Marion McKee, School Board.
Ed Salomon, School Board.
And we have three members of the Administrative Cabinet.
Andy Sanko, Administrator on Special Assignment.
Barry Desko, Director of K-12 Education.
Matt Frederickson, IT Director.
Thank you. And we have on the phone Dr. Fraser, our superintendent, and we have three board members. I'll avoid confusion just by introducing you. How's that? Andy Block, Mike Thorwart, and Krista Marcel are on the phone. Thank you all for joining us. We'll begin with school organization, policy number 802. It's pretty straightforward.
Yes, I mean, the current configuration is listed as we have it here in Council Rock, and should there ever be changes, it would be through superintendent seeking that direction from the board and notification of the Department of Ed.
Questions or comments? Just for the benefit of those who don't have it in front of you, it's grades K through 6 are elementary, 7 through 8 is middle, and 9 through 12 is high school. If there are no questions or comments, then we will move forward with our recommendation for approval. 802. 803.
803 is just the recognition that there annually will be a school calendar identifying the 180 days, student days of school instruction. As you see there, it speaks that normally consists of 180 days because we do have some grade levels that have 179 days as permitted by us seeking approval from PDE. So this is just what we follow annually anyhow, with a calendar being approved by the board and being made public.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward 803 with our recommendation to the full board. 80, what is 80? 804 is next. The school day.
Again, relatively simple policy indicating that the school day would be defined and that there are times at which the superintendent will close school or have delayed openings or early dismissals, all at the designation of the superintendent. I'm sorry, I got 804. Yeah. Thanks. And then the superintendent trying to make sure that the board president is notified as soon as possible when those decisions are being made.
Can I ask a question?
Please, yes.
So in all cases, superintendent shall inform the board president as soon as possible. Is there a reason you picked board president as opposed to board?
My guess would be it's just about timeliness, especially if it's a phone call or a need to do a text message rather than an email. I think, Robert, you're on the line. I'm guessing that at most times you probably do try to include the full board.
Yeah, that's correct. Especially when the decision is made, the evening before, or if it's one of those situations where we're going to delay and reassess the situation. If there's any ambiguity to it whatsoever, then the typical practice is that I'll just shoot an email to the entire board.
Do you want to change it that way, Andy?
Unless it precludes something. I understand that in some cases you might contact the board president or another board member because you need help communicating to other folks. But, that would be the only time, and but it doesn't necessarily have to be president. I defer to you guys. You guys know what's best in practice.
Yeah, I think from a consultative standpoint, the superintendent can consult with any of the 9, whether it's the
Right.
president, or whomever. But this seems to be correct me if I'm wrong, this seems to be after or once a decision is made. And if my thinking on that is correct, then I would just recommend, to communicate it to the full board, because with the technology that we have today, it's certainly easy enough to do.
All right, so then you're suggesting, Dr. Fraser, we just strike the word president.
I would, yeah.
Let's do it.
Why not?
Any objections?
No, not at all.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Then we'll move forward 804 with our recommendation, and next up is 807.
So policy 807 discusses opening exercises, display of the flag. A couple of thoughts about suggestions here. So under authority, the display of the flag in the classrooms and in the schools is part of school code. I do believe they meant to say in clement weather, not in inclement weather. So we were going to strike the inclement and returning that to clement.
All right.
So
Should we fix that?
yes, that's already changed on the screen. So that was just an error, I believe, a typo from PSBA.
Clement is unusual word.
It is, but I looked it up and it is a word, and it is in school code.
Oh,
The
good.
word clement is used, so.
Very good.
It also requires, as stated here, district shall provide opening exercises to include salute to the flag, recitation of Pledge of Allegiance, or national anthem, which we do in all of our schools. That too is part of school code. And then the next part about students declining to participate in those opening exercises is also part of school code. So they are permitted to not participate in those opening exercises. However, they may not disrupt the opening exercises for others. The last part of that particular policy is really optional. It does speak to it in school code, but it is not required. If we do keep it, I was going to ask if the board was interested in entertaining changing from silent prayer to silent reflection or meditation as part of the opening exercise. And then we changed again on the second sentence where it says silent prayer to silent meditation, or meditation shall not be conducted as a religious service or exercise. So that's just a possible suggestion for your consideration for a change in wording on that last sentence.
I don't mind it the way it is, Barry, but
I'm fine either way.
Maybe,
It does say that
I was
silent
gonna-
prayer is not
okay.
going to be a religious service, so it's clear that it's
Right.
not intended to be that way.
right.
Yeah, and I was just gonna mention, if you wanted to, you could just take the parentheses off and do commas,
Well,
like prayer, reflection, or,
I put the reflection in there with the parentheses in case that was going to be a suggested change. It wouldn't be both. So I'm suggesting
oh, okay.
the terminology would be prayer or meditation. And I'm suggesting to the board, if there is a discomfort with prayer, that we could just change it to reflection. But I'm not recommending one or the other. I think it's the board's prerogative to do so.
I think it's worth considering because prayer is a loaded word for some people. I personally don't object to the word prayer, but what about anyone else?
I also don't
Well,
object.
And
I don't, meditation, prayer, I don't really have a problem with whatever the children do, if it's quiet, silent.
I'm going to take a different take on it. I'd like to see the entire statement struck. I don't think I would support anything with that, regardless of the words. What they want to do in their own head is fine. Us even suggesting as a school that they should be doing that, I don't necessarily think that's appropriate. So I'd suggest, rather than debate the words, that we strike the line.
So let me, just to give you some context to it, let me read to you from the school code where this comes from, so you have a sense of it. It's called
Yeah,
meditation and prayer periods. In each public school classroom, the teacher in charge may, or if so authorized or directed by the board of school directors by which he is employed, shall, at the opening of school upon every school day, conduct a brief period of silent prayer or meditation with the participation of all the pupils therein assembled. The silent prayer or meditation authorized by subsection A of this section is not intended to be and shall not be conducted as a religious service or exercise, but shall be considered as an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation on a religious theme by those who are so disposed, or a moment of silent reflection on the anticipated activities of the day. So that's the school code where this was added by the PSBA.
Yeah, and again, for me, if we don't have to have it in there, then to me, it's something that shouldn't be. If we're asking our employees to, provide some time for folks to do whatever, that just offers an opportunity for it, regardless of what the policy or the school code says, to have another slant on it, or to have somebody have a view that it has a slant on it, either in the classroom or public. I don't think it's needed. That's me,
Mary Ann?
I would be okay with striking that. I don't have a problem with the word prayer. If we want to keep it, I would prefer the word reflection, in that reflection or meditation to me would just be a lot more inclusive than the word prayer. But I'm also okay if there's enough support to strike it, that would be fine with me as well.
If it were to be struck, I guess I would just question what we advise our schools to do, since most still have a moment of silence at the beginning of the day after the pledge. So that then would no longer be part of policy. I just don't know how we would, I think we would either have to ask them to refrain from doing that, or give some guidance on what they should be doing or what they should be saying if it's not in the board policy.
That's a good point.
This is Robert. Let me jump in here real quickly, just with my 2 cents. I have always been a believer in the moment of silence afterwards, after the pledge. It's a very common, typical practice in schools across the country. And with that being the case, that's why I would also be in favor of referencing it as just reflection. I mean, kids can reflect on whatever they want to reflect on during that, relatively short moment of silence.
Ed?
When was the school policy written?
1949.
Yeah, I don't know if we should position ourselves to change.
This was, it looks like 1972, there was an addendum to this particular part.
1972.
Yeah, some part of that was.
I mean, we could very frankly be revisiting this in years to come. I don't know if this is something that we should be taking on at this point.
Thank you for the,
I just want to summarize what I'm hearing. It sounds like the consensus is to change it to: the board shall direct professional employees to conduct a brief period of silent reflection.
well, I have a question about the way it's worded beyond that. And thank you for weighing in, Dr. Fraser, Ed, Mary Ann, Andy, Mike. It sounds prescriptive here, directive. It says the board shall direct professional employees to conduct a brief period of silent prayer. That sounds to me like it's not optional, and I thought that was the teacher's option. So that, I would rather have it worded so that it's presented as optional.
So I think what typically happens is either, and it probably varies a little bit by school, either the morning exercises are conducted over the PA system, so that the main office is doing the pledge to the flag and then saying a moment of silence and then having students, be seated. Or they say to the teachers, please lead your class in the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence before they start the school day. So I think it is prescribed, and
Okay.
it's happening in every classroom in every school currently. My fear of making it optional would be the inconsistencies where some would and some wouldn't.
Okay,
And what would justify one versus the other? I
that's
think,
fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
the box, I
if
don't
that's the
think.
practice, then
That's the current
stick with
practice.
it. All right, so if no one wants to retain the word prayer, then I guess what I'm hearing is, as you were saying, Matt, that we would just strike the word prayer in those two places.
And I would like to keep it in there, but it sounds like I'm outvoted.
No? If you want it in there,
I don't, anything. So,
Andy wanted to strike the
I'm
whole.
not opposed to the word. I just feel like the more, like to the point of being inclusive, like the more you make something open to all students, so that you're not limiting, I think that's the best course of action, in my opinion. So prayer and whatever else you want, I think the more, that we can show that there's a level of inclusivity, I think it's good.
well, I see all those in the existing statement, but maybe I'm,
I mean, you could add reflection. I think we could probably say silent prayer, comma, reflection,
Or meditation.
or meditation.
I like that.
And maybe that covers it all, and then do the same in that next sentence.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with that.
Andy, are you okay with that?
I don't like the word prayer at all. I probably won't support it anyway, so don't be surprised. But religion's got no place in school. To suggest that it's a time for prayer as opposed to I just say a moment of silence. If you want to do it, keep it a moment of silence, and then what anybody chooses to do in their own head is their own
That makes sense to me.
choice.
Because then you're not the
Yeah,
one saying you have
I'm
the moment
with
of silence.
Andy on that.
Yeah.
Robert, you were cut off. What did you say?
Sorry, I was saying that I'm with Andy on that opinion.
That's striking the word prayer.
No.
Just calling it a moment of silence,
Yes,
period.
like not defining it, just saying it's a moment of silence, that's it. Like you're not saying what it's filled with.
Yeah, just conduct a brief period of
Silence.
a moment of silence, a brief period of silence.
So this is what I do as part of daily opening exercise, and just remove that last sentence.
You gotta get rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're thinking that final sentence is not
Or if
necessary.
if you wanted to get really prescriptive, you say 60 seconds of silence.
So, and we struck that final sentence.
It now reads, "The board shall direct professional employees to conduct a brief period of silence as part of daily opening exercise."
All right, I can live with that.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I think that was worthwhile.
Just a quick clarification on that. Is it directing only professional employees to conduct that, or administrative employees as well? Because as Barry indicated, a lot of this, in fact, most of this happens at the principal's or some other administrator's direction over the morning announcement.
Well, I consider administrators professionals.
We can take
Should
it.
it say both?
We just say the board shall direct employees.
For administrators and professional employees.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm throwing out there, is that possibility.
Administrators and.
Well, I think that's the question. If you really want to narrow it down, if I'm a teacher assistant in charge of a group of students during a morning exercises, I too am expected to conduct a brief period of silence.
Good point. Can we just use the word employee
Yeah,
or staff?
might be safest.
All right. Employees. Going once. No more questions or objections. We'll move forward 807 to the full board for review and consideration. By the way, I was going to point out that I like the fact that the policy no longer requires a written statement from parents to excuse kids. That's a good thing to eliminate.
I think what we do is we just notify a parent if a child doesn't say, just want you to know that your child has chosen not to participate. And we're just expecting that they'll sit quietly during those exercises. We don't have problems with it, so we're okay.
Good, good, good. Next is, wait a minute, 814.
Yeah, we jumped a little bit. to
We did. Copyright materials.
Yes, you gentlemen can leave.
Okay.
The 814 covers copyright material. PSB cleaned it up a little bit. I'm very happy with the changes they made. It really does reflect all of the different sources of information that our teachers use today. And it's something that I just think it's something that needs to be out there, so.
Age up a little bit,
Pardon?
man. Age up a little bit.
Sure.
Is there a fairly good understanding of fair use? Do you think?
Yes, I believe so. Occasionally, I would say probably twice a year, we'll get contacted by a textbook manufacturer or someone there's a website that teachers can resell their materials on, teacher payment. So about twice a year, we're contacted about a teacher who may have violated copyright, and we just talk to them and they're fine. So, but I would say overall, in a district this size, for the amount of stuff that we have, I'd say, yeah, there's a very good, I think the librarians do a phenomenal job in their buildings.
Oh, yeah.
So they're kind of the go-to people in the buildings.
Front line.
Yeah.
Good. It's good for students to understand it too.
Yes.
Any comments or questions from those online?
Nope, very thorough, it seems like.
Good. Thank you, Matt. No objections. We'll move this one forward to the full board for its review. Next is,
815, acceptable use policy.
wow.
My favorite policy in the entire.
Yeah, I was going to say.
PSBA has made several revisions to our older policy, mostly in the definition phases, and they've expanded on a few of the categories. And this is based on several rulings that have come out in the last probably 4 or 5 years. And I like PSBA's model, even though it's very wordy. I like it a lot. It gives the district a lot of ability when it comes to making sure that the technology is being used appropriately by students and staff.
Did you feel a need to run this past our legal counsel or not?
I did not, because it's kind of boilerplate.
Okay.
I would heartily suggest we do though, Matt, when we're finished with it here. Just because it's wordy and we may end up using this one.
I'd be happy to have Rob take a look at it.
Good suggestion, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Okay.
And I understand your rationale for not doing it before this point, but no harm in doing it.
Agreed. I'm okay with it as it stands, but once we're finished, because this is something that may come up in discipline hearings or lots of issues, let's make sure the council is okay.
Yeah, we have definitely used this in the past, so
Yeah.
that's a really good idea.
For discipline purposes?
Yes, sir.
Well, then, yeah, then definitely, yeah, without a doubt. It's the age that we live in.
Yeah.
It's also one of those policies, you could give it to 3 different attorneys and you get 3 different. But Rob's very well-grounded, so I'll shoot it by him then, and we'll bring it back to the next policy committee.
You mean, are we going to pull it out and hold it? Or can we just keep it in the pipeline?
Unless Rob has changes?
Yes.
I could do that, absolutely.
Are you all comfortable with that, keeping it in the pipeline unless Rob Cox has some changes?
Sure. Works for me. Yes.
Yeah, I think, absolutely.
All right, then we will move forward 815 to the full board for its approval with our recommendation pending solicitor's review.
And that takes us to 8:30. This is a new policy, also reflective of the age we live in. And this was reviewed by Mr. Cox. And he was fine with it. We did find one little typo, which I corrected. So the copy you have has the typo corrected. Basically, just if you're not familiar with it, if there's a breach of, if information gets out that's confidential or personal, this just directs us to make sure that people are notified. Basically, basically applies to the law, Pennsylvania law, and data breach is really what this policy is based on.
Yeah, look pretty straightforward.
Ed, Marianne,
Yes.
questions, comments? No?
No, it's a good
No
one.
questions or comments? All right, if everybody's comfortable with this new policy, we will move it forward to the full board for its review with our recommendation.
Matt, just out of curiosity, did anything bring this to the forefront, or are you just in front of this or hearing?
I believe this came out as a result of a couple of cases that have occurred in the last 4 or 5 years.
Good.
We belong to a consortium through the IU, and we get a law brief update every year by the attorney as part of the consortium. And Mark does a phenomenal job of keeping us posted. And every year, when he does his update, he always brings up 2 or 3 court cases where there have been breaches within districts.
That's great. Yeah, good stuff.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. There is no public present. There are no public present. You know, that's
Yes,
the British way.
collectively.
Yeah, I know. That's the way they do it. Is there any other board comment or questions? Dr. Fraser? If not,
I am good. Well run meeting.
thank you. I will make note that it is 7:26 PM and we are adjourned.